Nelson is a licensed lender under the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 331060.
This is Nelson from Nelson Radio, and it's important that we talk about a very serious issue. We had bad lending practices that led to the mortgage meltdown, but now we've got the challenge of deplorable customer service coming out of the meltdown. Bottom line, getting a new loan can be like pulling teeth without Novocaine. I've got the solution. Academy Mortgage and my team are injecting into the industry real performance and real accountability. Here are the facts. Appraisals in less than a week. Rate guarantees that can improve if the market goes down. Purchase transactions with our market-exclusive close-on-time guarantees and refinance transactions in as little as 30 days. Who would have thunk? Guaranteed rates and guaranteed performance from your mortgage lender. Call me, Nelson, an accountable loan expert for nearly 3 decades, direct at 888-888-2136. That's Nelson at 888-888-2136, 888-888-2136, or at strongcreditrewards.com.
Nelson.
Good gravy.
A radio host.
Found myself 2 million short of a millionaire.
Barely understandable.
Gee, Monetti.
We can rebuild him.
Guy's bright as a napkin.
We have the technology.
You gotta work with design, vision, and focus.
Better than he was before.
It's not lonely in my head.
Funnier.
I'm staring at a bowl of spaghetti trying to figure out which two ends come together.
More informative.
Characters defined by what you do once you screw up, not if you make mistakes along the way.
And just as sarcastic.
You sausage.
Oh, come on!
Give us 60 minutes and we'll give you Nelson Radio every Saturday from 2 to 3 p.m. on KTLK AM 1150. With 29 years in the mortgage business and an array of top-level guests visiting the show, Nelson is in a unique position to bring you cutting-edge information on real estate, business, finance, and law. If you have any questions for Nelson or any of his guests, give him a call at 888-888-2136. That's 888-888-2136. Or check him out online at nelsonradio.com.
Nelson Radio.
KTLK AM 1150, always a treat to be back together with you and with our Coldwell banker, the guru of Coldwell banker, Beth Styne. How do you like that?
The guru, I like that.
The guru. It's not gender specific.
No, although as you were saying it, I was sort of envisioning, I don't know, a long gray hair and a big beard, and I thought that wouldn't be a very good look for me.
I have to admit, I had in my notes here, I was going to describe you a different way, the best in class.
I like that.
And then I thought you would, slog me to the floor for treating you like a dog show or something. I don't know. I got scared. So there you have it. A true professional. Welcome back. This show is themed all about resilience, and really the backdrop to this is what we've all seen, the photo essay, the video essay that's coming out of Oklahoma. And I was just spellbound by some of these photos. Cannot believe, like Beth, you and I were talking earlier today, cannot believe that, and not to minimize it, but that there's only been a couple of dozen.
25 or 26
people that have actually, died in the, and you look at the pictures, the half-mile wide swath of just nothing left but driveways. How can that be?
Complete devastation. It's so, we've seen stories through the years of hurricanes and tornadoes, and it sort of will jump. It hit a house here and a house there, and then you'll see houses that are fine, and, that it'll hit 3 or 4 houses. But this was a half mile or more of complete and utter devastation.
Gone.
Devastating.
Yeah. So we're going to be taking a look at resilience, and I love not the graphic storyline of what they're enduring back in Oklahoma, but as people are rising up from the debris and planting signs, okay, here we go.
Right.
And let's start over, and let's do this, and these signs of encouragement. And I think really that's what I want to hear about resilience as we go through our various guests today. We're going to have some great guests. We've got Alexander Villa coming in from Century 21 Masters and taking a look at buyer mistakes, how to avoid them going in instead of making them and then having that long walk back to the dugout of, our offer wasn't accepted. So we're going to take a look at that.
A lot of that.
We've got Brett Miller. There's very few times at 6'6" that I feel small. And so here I am.
Can you imagine how I feel standing next to him?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So if you can imagine, as you listen out there, we've got Beth Styne, who's every bit of 5 foot something, and then Brett Miller, 6'8", and then myself, a hearty 6'6", feeling like you do most times, I guess, huh?
You're 6'6".
If I stand up straight, I start the day at 6'6". I finish about 5'9" and slumped over and tired. And 6'6" is where I start. And so we've got Brett Miller coming in to talk to us, share his background in that transition from NFL stardom into now the real estate sector and flourishing in that marketplace. And then in Coach's Corner, the color commentator of the Los Angeles Angels, Victor Rojas, is going to be with us. And then, of course, finishing with Stump the Experts, and then another special look at one of the kids out of Treasures of Africa, our sponsor orphanage down in Moshi, Tanzania. And these kids are just great. You talk about coming out of disastrous environments. It's probably the epicenter of the AIDS pandemic, and these kids find joy, they find cheer, they find happiness. And this whole orphanage, the premise behind it is to build up these people to come back into the community, these kids to come back into the community and be difference makers. So we're going to be taking a look at one of the special kids down there. So kicking this off, we've got our Street Noise segment. And with us on Street Noise, we have who, Beth?
We've got Kevin Cordasco. He's one of our top producers in the Beverly Hills South office. He knows a lot about resilience. But the other thing that's kind of interesting to me is he was a professional soccer player. So a soccer player, football player. We've got the baseball coach, tennis player, a whole lot of testosterone, and me.
Maybe we should walk down the hall to Fox Sports LA.
Hi, Kevin.
Hello, Beth.
Hey, Kevin, thanks for being with us. You know, we're taking a look at this issue of resilience and really just life after the who would have thunk. And that impacts all of us, whether that's in business or in life, our personal lives, our families. And so I just wanted to take a look at that. We have, coming out of Oklahoma, the disaster with the tornado, still out of the Midwest. They look at California and say, how do you live in Southern California with earthquakes? And I look back at these sirens and the devastation of tornadoes. How do you do that? But, bottom line, there's so many examples of life getting in the way. And I just wanted to talk to you about that, about resilience, and maybe hear your perspective.
Well, going back to the earthquake for me, being a kid from New Jersey, where the only thing that was solid that you can be sure of was the ground under your feet, moving to Los Angeles and experiencing the earthquake was a pretty incredible experience for me.
Well, and I think either illustration, I mean, there's no shortage of natural disasters and other disasters, but I think that it begs the question, are we ready for them? Should we be ready for them? And when they do occur, what do we do?
It's kind of an interesting thing. In Tornado Alley, which is where Oklahoma is, and you've got Arkansas and a whole host of states, they have a lot of preparation for hurricanes and tornadoes. They've got, my husband calls them scare holes because he's from Oklahoma and Texas, but they have, they've got bunkers, and there's that kind of preparation, and hopefully you have enough notice. I think with earthquakes we don't get that notice. Boom, it's done. And
they're less frequent. I think it's somewhat of a surprise, but the science of tornadoes now, they're with tornado chasers and the National Weather Service, they pick these things up and the possibility of them. And there is some type of early warning, which is why you see when a complete neighborhood for 2 miles is devastated and leveled, you have such a low body count for something like that, which you look at the photos and you would think there's nothing could survive that.
The thing that's so interesting to me is today, the first thing that they did was they put the street signs back up so everybody knew where they were. And that's about, that's picking yourself up and literally dusting yourself off and beginning your life anew and making everything fresh, starting again. You have to. Well,
and I think whatever the example is, it's creating the new normal, and then, just like you said, dusting yourself off, putting one foot in front of the other. I always tell people, and I've faced disaster in my life, and I've always tell people, they ask you, how do you do it? How do you survive what you've had to survive? And I said, you know what? I stand up, I lean far enough forward where I have to take a step or fall, and then you take that step.
Right.
Kevin Cordasco from Coldwell Banker over in Beverly Hills. Thanks for being with us. We'll have you back with us on the show. This segment of Street Noise brought to you by our legal partner, OC Wills and Trust. As we look at resiliency throughout the show, we want you calling us. Give us a shout direct, 888-888-2136. That's 888-888-2136. We'll be right back with Alexander Villa from Century 21 Masters.
The Nelson Show is brought to you by Best Chauffeured. Best Chauffeured offers personal chauffeur services for corporate events, large and small, and all types of people, not just celebrities. So next time you just want to relax and enjoy the ride, please call on Best Chauffeured Worldwide. It's effortless transportation and first-class service every time. Call 866-323-BEST. That's 866-323-BEST or online at bestchauffeured.com. Mention KTLK's Nelson Show and receive a special discount. 866-323-BEST or online at bestchauffeured.com.
Insurance Incorporated are the residential and apartment insurance experts. Unlike agencies that represent one carrier and can only provide one quote, Insurance Incorporated has appointments with the nation's leading insurance carriers, giving you the power of choice. This means more options and savings for you, offering coverage that's both comprehensive and affordable. Their policies for apartments include protection against loss or rents, accusation of wrongful eviction and wrongful entry, vandalism, theft, and slip and fall claims. Show your value as a property manager by being proactive, saving your clients' money and protecting their assets. They can even assist your tenants with renter's insurance. And homeowners, they can save you up to 40% on premiums, including often overlooked liability coverage. Insurance Incorporated are the residential and apartment insurance experts. Call.
This is Nelson from Nelson Real Estate Radio, and I want to have a very serious conversation with you. Let me paint the word picture. The drinks were innocent enough, just relaxing with friends. Really, I felt fine. Being drunk wasn't even a consideration. Then the rearview mirror lights up with the blue and red. The arrest, cuffed, and in jail. Really? Me? All too frequent, we wish in the somehow, someway category for a do-over, a mulligan to make a different decision. Let me introduce you to Orange County's Office of Michael L. Feld. Nearly 2 decades serving in the Orange County District Attorney's Office as a prosecutor, now fighting for your rights in criminal defense. Recognized as one of Orange County's top 5 criminal defense attorneys, ready to represent you against his former colleagues. Save the embarrassment, the potential conviction, the record, the possible loss of job. Call Mike Feld direct for your legal mulligan, a chance to make it right. 949-278-5559. That's 949-278-5559 for the law office of Michael L. Feld. 949-278-5559, or you can text the letters OCDUI to 313131. Welcome back to Nelson Radio, and we were just taking a look at the reality of things that get in the way, and by golly, I think I want to go a little more upbeat in terms of what we have to look at here, and part of that is taking a look at as we move in through this marketplace. There's some challenges out there, and what we want to do is prep these home buyers of ways to not make the simple mistakes that are going to contribute to offers not getting accepted. I think, Beth, don't you find that throughout the Coldwell Banker environment of people that are frustrated?
You know, it's interesting. In this marketplace, there are so many multiple offers that you're inevitably finding buyers who are completely frustrated, and the deals are being made mostly with people who have all cash, or they have no contingencies. They're doing all kinds of things that you, as an agent who have a fiduciary responsibility.
I love that.
Towards their buyer. You don't want to advise them to make foolish mistakes and to do things that are going to be taking chances, but on the same hand, they really want that property. You've got to be aggressive.
So let's bring in Alexander Villa from Century 21 Masters. Let me tell you that this segment is brought to you by Best Chauffeured. Listeners, as you have questions that come up, call us direct, 888-888-2136. That's 888-888-2136. Alexander Villa, you're out of the Glendora area, Claremont specialist, and you see buyer mistakes. You see people that are just going down rabbit trails, and you've got to coach them, don't you?
Yes, Nelson, thank you. Good to see you. There's a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of urban myths, as was brought up, this perception that most of the deals are being done all cash. Out in the Glendora, Claremont area, we're looking at about a quarter to a third are being done cash. And although that's not encouraging for first-time or young home buyers or people that are just regular people using a traditional loan, it's not completely shutting them out of the game.
So 70% of the transactions, looking on the upside, then are just traditional loan-to-equity transactions and going through the financing chain.
Right. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy. We've got the buyers have to be fully approved, and not 95%, not I need one more thing to send in and then I can get the cross-qualify. Fully approved if they want to be in the game. Another thing is overbidding. Yes, it is common. It's frequent, but a lot of that is being set up from an intentional pricing point. It's not that every property, every time is being overbid on regardless of the price or the value relative to its listing price.
Do you have sellers that are starting out with a strike price under market? Or do you have the more common message? My perception, Beth, is that people are saying, hey, if somebody wants to pay me $800,000 for the $700,000 home, of course I'll sell. Right. What are people doing out in Claremont?
Well, the market has been moving so fast the last 8 months. In fact, in the Glendora, Claremont area, the last 8 months was faster than any 8-month period during the 05-06 run-ups, to give you some idea. What's happening out there is that a price may be the effective price, but by the time a month or two rolls around or escrow is ready to close, the next property, the same property to go on the market, may actually be able to pull in another 5% more, 3% more. So it's not that they intentionally underpriced it. It's just the market kind of ran past it. By the time we're accepting offers, about to close the deal, go into escrow, it may tolerate a $5,000 or $10,000 overbid on a property.
Let me change gears here, and let me ask you the question on in terms of changes that people make going into transactions. And I hear a lot of storylines. I see these in the mortgage sector, people looking at their financial statements, and they go, oh, great, our offer is accepted. We're going to get into this new home, this new community. And then sure enough, without the right coaching, they go off to the auto dealership and say, we got to have this new car in the driveway. And of course, we have new appliances and we want the plasma TV and all of a sudden their financial picture changes. Do you run into that, or is that being squeezed out of the marketplace with all this pre-approval?
If we've learned anything over the last 5 to 8 years, it would moderation, I hope, would be it. I think lenders they're scrutinizing the buyers more and counseling them more, certainly, because there are now implications for that buyer should that loan have difficulty in the future.
That's right. It's interesting. We do, and we have had to counsel people, because for years people would just, oh my God, I'm getting a house. Okay, I need a couch. I got to have a better car in the new driveway with the new house. And so, finally people have reined it in a little bit. And, my concern here is there a little bit of a false bubble happening? I don't think so, because we still have no inventory, and that's still keeping everything at bay. It's kind of interesting to see what's going on.
Buyer mistakes. We're taking a look at it. I'm with Beth Styne from Coldwell Banker, Alexander Villa, the resident expert out in Claremont from Century 21 Masters. Let me ask you, Alexander, in terms of people that change employment, do you see that mid-escrow? Oh, gosh, our offer's accepted. Now I'm going to take this new job because I need to make more money?
People are being counseled better by their lenders. Thank you very much, Nelson.
Sounds like a leading question, doesn't
it? Not to get in that situation or to hold off. I actually have somebody right now that's transferring from Boeing, but there is some common sense there. It's not. We haven't moved to this area of cut and dry with lender qualifications. If the gentleman is going into the same field in a parallel company doing the same thing, most lenders apply common sense there, as you do, Nelson.
And about down payments, I know that there's a strong influx of Asian buyers out of the Asian communities, and money oftentimes shows up. Right? All of a sudden there's the account with an average balance of $3 and it has $300,000 as a current balance. Is that something you're finding in Claremont in terms of chasing these funds down? That
I'm not running into that. I know that I counsel my clients up front from initial contact when I get them pre-qualified with you, Nelson, that they need to have that money in proper accounts, properly structured. We're not going to even begin the process until we're at a point where we could get approved moving forward from this point, not from what we're going to do in the future. And yes, and I'm glad you brought up the issue of down payment. That's another thing with the traditional buyer. The guy's just got a 10 or 20% down loan. He's going with just a full traditional loan, a full doc loan. He's not the all cash buyer. Just having another $5,000, $10,000, maybe $15,000, being able to sign off on an appraisal contingency, that could be the difference between getting the property or not getting the property. So it's certainly, there's hope for borrowers. There's hope for the average guy buying the house. He doesn't need the full cash. A deal can be competitive. If he's able to perhaps go that extra $5,000 or $10,000 because he has a few dollars more above his 20%, that could be the difference.
Century 21 Masters, Alexander Villa, I want to thank you for being with us. We've got 8 mistakes identified. I want to make certain if you're listening out there and you're having trouble with getting transactions through to the finish line or getting transactions accepted for that matter, we've studied that. Alexander Villa is leading the charge. We have 8 mistakes to avoid as a buyer or a borrower in your next real estate transaction. If you call us direct, we'll send that to you free. 8 mistakes to avoid as a buyer. 888-888-2136. That's 888-2136. Beth and I are coming back in just a moment with another well-coached individual, Brett Miller. Brett Miller. We'll be right back. This is Nelson from Nelson Real Estate Radio, and I want to have a very serious conversation with you. Let me paint the word picture. The drinks were innocent enough, just relaxing with friends. Really, I felt fine. Being drunk wasn't even a consideration. Then the rearview mirror lights up with the blue and red. The arrest, cuffed, and in jail. Really? Me? All too frequent, we wish in the somehow, someway category for a do-over, a mulligan to make a different decision. Let me introduce you to Orange County's Office of Michael L. Feld. Nearly 2 decades serving in the Orange County District Attorney's Office as a prosecutor, now fighting for your rights in criminal defense. Recognized as one of Orange County's top 5 criminal defense attorneys, ready to represent you against his former colleagues. Save the embarrassment, the potential conviction, the record, the possible loss of job. Call Mike Feld direct for your legal mulligan, a chance to make it right. 949-278-5559. That's 949-278-5559 for the law office of Michael L. Feld. 949-278-5559, or you can text the letters OCDUI to 313131.
The Nelson Show is brought to you by Best Chauffeured. Best Chauffeured offers personal chauffeur services for corporate events, large and small, and all types of people, not just celebrities. So next time you just want to relax and enjoy the ride, please call on Best Chauffeured Worldwide. It's effortless transportation and first-class service every time. Call 866-323-BEST. That's 866-323-BEST or online at bestchauffeured.com. Mention KTLK's Nelson Show and receive a special discount. 866-323-BEST or online at bestchauffeured.com.
Everyone loves a good mystery, but that's hardly the case when you're in a real estate transaction. With Title365.com, the mystery behind title insurance and escrow services has been kicked to the curb. You gain instant access to status and downloadable documents. Want customized real-time order information and documents as they happen 24/7, 365? No problem. And for the first time, Title365 is bringing together leading professionals working on your real estate transaction, so the process is even more transparent and efficient thanks to up-to-the-minute communication. You can even retrieve contact information for leading professionals offering real estate and home-related services right in your own community and learn more about title insurance all in one convenient place. Be sure to ask your local realtor, lender, or escrow officer about Title365 or visit Title365.com. Mystery solved.
Welcome back to Nelson Radio. I'm with my special guest host, Beth Styne, and we're looking at the transition of athlete to professional real estate agent, and a transition it is. But I think out of that last segment, what I'm hearing is, regardless of how you approach this market, you have to be well coached. And obviously, any athlete is well coached.
Absolutely. As an agent and as a buyer or as a seller, you got to have somebody in your corner who's really giving you the right guidance.
This segment brought to you by Insurance Incorporated. Contact us. You can reach Beth and I direct at 888-888-2136. That's 888-888-2136. And Beth, we've got this man giant next to me. Brett Miller, man giant.
Drops that giant card on.
I don't know. And
have I once done that?
I don't know.
Done that?
And the
no,
fact
Beth
that
has not.
The fact that you're between me and the door, I'm very nervous about saying that right now. So Brett Miller, here is his interesting background with football. Represented the Rose Bowl with Iowa.
Yes, I did.
And then drafted in the 5th round, 129th overall. In what year was that draft?
Really?
You
really asked me?
No.
1983. It was the best draft class ever in the history of the NFL. Danny Marino,
Elway,
the whole crew.
Miller.
Well, yeah, right.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that third in line. So 10-year NFL career, played with the Falcons, the Chargers, the Jets. You learned a lot, obviously, as a professional athlete, as an athlete in general, and that's transitioning into your workplace. I wanted to take a look at that with Beth and just see how you're making that transition. Is it easy? Is it rough? And are you coached now that you got a new profession?
Yeah, and Coldwell Banker and Beth and everybody in the organization, they do coach you up. They make themselves available. And there's an old saying, you either get better or you get worse. You never stay the same. And the only way to get better is to take advice and good advice. And, you have to have some sort of intelligence to pick through the bad advice and the good advice. But yeah, coaching plays a big part in, I think, everything.
What about accountability?
Accountability is something that you learn very early in sports, and the higher you go up, the more levels you go up, the higher the accountability, because you're under a microscope. And when you go from high school to college, the microscope tunes in a little bit closer, and then when you go to college to the pros, it's as close as it can get, and you're out there, it's live, and you make a mistake, you have to own it.
You have to own it. Other than if you're Dennis Rodman. I heard it.
Dennis is a friend of mine now, so be careful.
Yeah, well, and they were talking about him this morning, and they were telling some of the Dennis Rodman stories. There's many. In fact, very few people know that he had his own district attorney while he resided in Orange County. That's a trophy of its own. But they were talking about how Dennis, could get away with accountability because he would come into practice from his night out still smelling strongly of alcohol, but at the end of the night he would still have 20 rebounds.
Well, and that's everybody likes the finished product. It's about being able to perform, whether you've gone out the night before and gotten drunk, or whether you've gone and made bed check. If you can produce the product at the end of the day, that's what people appreciate. That's what people look for. It's not, reputation to me is a huge thing. My word, my reputation, accountability. But the bottom line is you have to produce. And to produce, you have to be coached, and you have to be good at what you do. And if you can get away with going out and having a cocktail or two and still produce, well, God bless you.
Well, and the follow-up to that was about Rodman is that he still worked as hard as his teammates, regardless of his personal decisions. He had work ethic, and any athlete knows this, and you certainly understand this. You have a work ethic in your new practice.
You have to have a work ethic, and people think that, you watch pro boxing, you watch MMA, you watch basketball, you watch football, you watch baseball. Everybody says, oh, yeah, I would love to go out there. I actually had people ask me when I was playing in the NFL, well, what is that like? I'd love to get out there on Sunday and go play. And they actually thought that we would just show up at the stadium on Sunday, put our pads on, and go play. It's like, do you realize how many hours of practice and film and tape and coaching and getting banged up? It's like there's a price you have to pay, and you have to put the work in to actually get to that level of competition and production.
And it's the same thing in real estate. It's the same thing with what you're doing now. You have to put one foot in front of the other. You got to do what you're told. You got to do it every single day. And you need to really, with great success comes an element of freedom. And if you can pull it off and you hit your marks, you hit your numbers, and you get your double doubles or your triple doubles or whatever you're doing in basketball, or if you're hitting your numbers and you're successful, you can get away with things. If you're not, you can't. And sometimes you're working harder, and sometimes you're working smarter.
This is Nelson Radio with Beth Styne. We're visiting with Brett Miller. And I wanted to ask you, obviously you have, in football, you've got a whole network of team around you, whether that's on field or all the host of people that it takes to develop a team and get you onto the field of competition. What's it like now? Do you have that sense of teamwork?
Yes, you do. It's a little bit more individual in real estate, but you have to be able to count on the guy next to you, or the girl, or the guy behind you, or the girl behind you. You just have to be able to count on people. And if somebody says they're going to do something to be successful, they have to do it. It's what the old adage, everybody wants to score a touchdown, but the only way to score touchdowns is one play at a time. And when you do one play, All 11 guys have to get their assignment just right for that one play to succeed. And, you put 9 or 10 plays together, then you score. Anybody could go out and throw a 70-yard pass 4 times in a row, and then it'd be 4th and 10. But if you take care of one play at a time, one form at a time, one client at a time, that's when I think you have success.
Beth, get this. I want you to comment on boom goes the dynamite.
Oh, my God.
What's the storyline?
Yeah.
Boom goes the dynamite. Come on.
Boom goes the dynamite.
There's a thing on YouTube, and when I first started doing sports at KTLA, it was my first show, and my producers and one of my co-anchors told me to watch this thing on YouTube, and it was this poor kid. It was his first show. I think it was on a internet-based college sports show, and he was trying to read to the highlights, and he lost his plays. He lost the game. He lost everything. And it was just so painful to watch because you could hear him trying to catch up off camera. And at the very end of the thing, one guy made a great shot, and he said, "Oh, and there, boom, goes the dynamite." And that was the end of the broadcast.
End of his
career.
Yeah.
And they were saying, "Hey, Brett, make sure this doesn't happen to you," because I was actually terrified. It was before my rookie game in the NFL, before my first college start, before anything I've done. When that show was getting ready to go live, I was absolutely terrified.
I kind of feel like that every time I walk in here with you, Nelson.
And who wouldn't? And who wouldn't? So one more thing I'm going to ask you before we have to break here, and that is the discipline that you're executing a game plan, you're running specific plays, you have a defined role, but you also have that sense of the awareness when to walk away.
Well, it's they're called audibles, and you have everything defined. You have everything game planned out. You've gone over every play 1,000 times. But when you come up to the line and there's a different defense up there, you have to be able to audible, and you have to be able to do different things. Kind of like what you said. People are doing things a little bit differently now because the market's different. I mean, there's a house that's listed for $899. You know what? I tell my buyers, you're probably going to have to go to $940, and they don't like hearing it. But it's the way that it's going right now. There's no inventory, and it's becoming a lot. The market is becoming a lot more healthy, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just people have to approach things. It's an audible, and if you don't know your stuff, the audible, you're like, what? I don't know.
Gotta know your stuff.
Yeah. Exactly.
Brett Miller, thanks for joining us. Coldwell Banker out in Manhattan Beach, seasoned athlete, now transitioning all of those disciplines into his workspace. And I think it absolutely crosses over, and it makes you a better business person. I want to thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
You're listening to Nelson Radio. You can reach us direct, 888-888-2136. We have Coach's Corner just around the corner with our own Los Angeles Angels TV announcer, Victor Rojas. Stay with us.
Everyone loves a good mystery, but that's hardly the case when you're in a real estate transaction. With Title365.com, the mystery behind title insurance and escrow services has been kicked to the curb. You gain instant access to status and downloadable documents. Want customized real-time order information and documents as they happen 24/7, 365? No problem. And for the first time, Title365 is bringing together leading professionals working on your real estate transaction, so the process is even more transparent and efficient thanks to up-to-the-minute communication. You can even retrieve contact information for leading professionals offering real estate and home-related services right in your own community and learn more about title insurance all in one convenient place. Be sure to ask your local realtor, lender, or escrow officer about Title365 or visit Title365.com. Mystery solved.
The Nelson Show is brought to you by Best Chauffeured. Best Chauffeured offers personal chauffeur services for corporate events, large and small, and all types of people, not just celebrities. So next time you just want to relax and enjoy the ride, please call on Best Chauffeured Worldwide. It's effortless transportation and first-class service every time. Call 866-323-BEST. That's 866-323-BEST or online at bestchauffeured.com. Mention KTLK's Nelson Show and receive a special discount. 866-323-BEST or online at bestchauffeured.com. Nelson is a licensed lender under the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 331060.
This is Nelson from Nelson Radio, and it's important that we talk about a very serious issue. We had bad lending practices that led to the mortgage meltdown, but now we've got the challenge of deplorable customer service coming out of the meltdown. Bottom line, getting a new loan can be like pulling teeth without Novocaine. I've got the solution. Academy Mortgage and my team are injecting into the industry real performance and real accountability. Here are the facts. Appraisals in less than a week. Rate guarantees that can improve if the market goes down. Purchase transactions with our market-exclusive close-on-time guarantees and refinance transactions in as little as 30 days. Who would have thunk? Guaranteed rates and guaranteed performance from your mortgage lender. Call me, Nelson, an accountable loan expert for nearly 3 decades, direct at 888-888-2136. That's Nelson at 888-888-2136, 888-888-2136, or at strongcreditrewards.com. We're here at the KTLK AM 1150 studios in Burbank. Resiliency is our show's theme, and what to do when you face the who would have thunk. This is Nelson Radio. I'm delighted to be with Beth Styne, the Vice President of Coldwell Banker. This segment brought to you by Title 365 with listener questions. Call us direct, 888-888-2136. That's 888-888-2136. We're jumping into Coach's Corner with Victor Rojas. So, Victor Rojas, it's great to be with you. We've been commenting on resiliency throughout our show, and I wanted to have you share your experiences as an athlete first in just being resilient.
Well, I mean, it's not so much as it being an athlete. It's almost a resiliency in life for me. I'm a guy that kind of grew up in the game of baseball with my dad having played big league ball, and my life dream was always to play professionally. And I was given that opportunity in 1990 in the Angels minor league system. And the mindset or the circumstance or whatever the case may be just wasn't right for me. And I was already out of baseball 4 years later. And for me, it was about trying to kind of find my legs, find a common ground as far as my mind, my being, and what I wanted to do with my life. And I kind of just floated around for about 6 years and trying to decide what I was going to do with my life. And, I think I finally came to the realization that I wanted to do something bigger and better and be involved in sports. And so I decided to on a whim with no experience or whatever, and decided to try this broadcasting thing out. And former big league catcher Rick Cerrone owned the Newark Bears at the time. And he hired me to be in his front office and kind of put his independent league team together and gave me an opportunity to be a broadcaster. And my mindset and my drive and my determination was going to be on the broadcasting side. And, I was fortunate enough to get hooked up with MLB.com, and that led to the All-Star Game in 2002 in Milwaukee, which led to a great cut on my demo reel, which led to a big league job with the Diamondbacks in 2003. And it's been a whirlwind since for me. But I think it all goes back to committing yourself to whatever that ultimate goal is and sticking with it regardless of what gets thrown your way. And I've gone from a radio guy to a part-time TV guy to a network analyst to a full-time TV play-by-play guy in the number 2 market in the country. And I think a lot of that has to do with the resiliency that I've had throughout my personal and professional life. And, I've been fortunate enough to land here in Southern California, and I'm certainly enjoying it.
How big a transition was that? Obviously, you're in a baseball family. Your dad, Cookie, was a major leaguer, and was there that transition of obviously coming from there? There had to be family expectations or your own expectations that you were going to follow that path, and then it veered off course in a different direction 3 years into your baseball career. Was there a transition?
Yeah, there was never any expectations from my dad or my mom's point of view. I mean, there's 4 boys, 3 brothers, and we all grew up just loving the game of baseball.
Right.
And but they never put pressure on us to say, hey, you should try this or you should do that. Matter of fact, they were the complete opposite. You want to try football, knock yourself out. You want to play basketball, knock yourself out. Don't worry about what I did or as a career. You need to find what it is that you love and find the passion for it and the drive and motivation to kind of get you to that upper echelon. And whatever that is, we're going to support you. So fortunately, the 4 of us were gifted with parents that weren't going to put the added pressure on us.
Nelson Radio is with Victor Rojas in Coach's Corner. We want to share your story as well about resilience in business or your life. Coach's Corner brought to you by Title 365. Reach out to us direct. 888-888-2136. That's 888-888-2136. Let's switch gears here as we close out this segment. I appreciate you being on Coach's Corner with us. You've had some big moments, and I know in tennis I have what I consider the biggest moments of my career, and most of them were things that maybe were around the game, but were not necessarily the centerpiece of competition. I remember playing at Wimbledon and going into the center court before the tournament started and just sitting there in the empty stands, and that became one of the biggest moments of my sports life. Big moments for you. What comes to mind?
Oh, I guess from a personal standpoint, and that's a pretty cool story about center court at Wimbledon, and I have one that kind of relates a little bit in that I was working for MLB.com, and this would have been in the fall of 2002, and I was in Arizona doing the Arizona Fall League, and they play in the spring training homes of the different major league teams, and I happened to be in Maryvale, just outside of Phoenix, which is where the Brewers make their spring training camps, and I was going to call the Arizona Fall League championship game, and as I was walking up to the broadcast booth, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about myself because it's the big league spring training ballpark, and I'm going into the big league spring training broadcast booth. And I'll never forget this. And I looked in the Brewers side of things. I said, that's where Bob Uecker calls games for the Brewers. And Uecker played with my dad with the Phillies in the 60s, and great guy. And I'm thinking, man, it's going to be pretty cool, when I get here. And I said that to myself. I never shared that with anybody, but I said that to myself. It's going to be pretty cool when I get here. And be able to call games at the big league level. And then the following season, the following January, I get hired by the Arizona Diamondbacks. And there I am, kind of full circle now as a big league broadcaster. So as it relates to your center court story, I've been there. It's pretty cool. But as far as other big moments, from a broadcasting standpoint, I've been a part of 3 no-hitters now, 2 with the Angels, 1 when I was with a member of the Texas Rangers. I actually had the call on Sammy Sosa's 600th home run in Texas against the Cubs.
Wow!
Against Jason Marquis, the pitcher of the Cubs, who was wearing Sammy Sosa's old number 21. So there's pretty cool storylines there.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to be around quite a few things. One last one though, just it stands out for me and my family. My dad, big time. Loves baseball to no end. He played it since he was a kid in Cuba. And but as a player, as a coach, as a scout, never got to a World Series. That is until 2000 when he was a third base coach with the New York Mets, which ended up being the New York Series. But when they clinched, we were at Shea Stadium. It was myself and my 2 older brothers and my mom. And at Old Shea Stadium, there's this tunnel that walks from the clubhouse or from the clubhouse to the dugout. So it takes a little while for the players to get from the dugout back into the clubhouse. Well, the family room, there's a path that walks right in front of the connecting tunnel that in between the clubhouse and the dugout. And so all the celebrating is going on. We walk downstairs. We're in the elevator, get downstairs. And the minute we get to that tunnel that leads toward the dugout, there's my dad. I mean, you couldn't have scripted it any better. He's going to get a chance to go to his first World Series, and his family arrives at the same time at the same intersection with him, just in full embrace. So, I mean, it was
great moment.
One of the things that I'll never, ever forget.
I got the chills hearing about it. Great story. Victor Rojas, thanks for being with us. That was fabulous storytelling, and as always, we enjoy your broadcasts and you call in the games. Let's get those Angels up above 500, will you?
Yeah. I'll do my best from up in the broadcast booth. It's a pleasure being on with you, and enjoy the rest of the summer.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Victor.
You got it.
While you're driving, stay with us. Beth and I are moving towards the Stump the Expert segment, addressing tough questions asked by you. This week's show on resiliency, presented by Title 365. Give us a call, 888-888-2136. That's 888-888-2136. We'll be right back.
Everyone loves a good mystery, but that's hardly the case when you're in a real estate transaction. With Title365.com, the mystery behind title insurance and escrow services has been kicked to the curb. You gain instant access to status and downloadable documents. Want customized real-time order information and documents as they happen 24/7, 365? No problem. And for the first time, Title365 is bringing together leading professionals working on your real estate transaction, so the process is even more transparent and efficient thanks to up-to-the-minute communication. You can even retrieve contact information for leading professionals offering real estate and home-related services right in your own community and learn more about title insurance all in one convenient place. Be sure to ask your local realtor, lender, or escrow officer about Title 365 or visit Title365.com. Mystery solved. Insurance Incorporated are the residential and apartment insurance experts. Unlike agencies that represent one carrier and can only provide one quote, Insurance Incorporated has appointments with the nation's leading insurance carriers, giving you the power of choice. This means more options and savings for you, offering coverage that's both comprehensive and affordable. Their policies for apartments include protection against loss or rents, accusation of wrongful eviction and wrongful entry, vandalism, theft, and slip and fall claims. Show your value as a property manager by being proactive, saving your clients' money and protecting their assets. They can even assist your tenants with renter's insurance. And homeowners, they can save you up to 40% on premiums, including often overlooked liability coverage. Insurance Incorporated are the residential and apartment insurance experts. Call.
This is Nelson from Nelson Real Estate Radio, and I want to have a very serious conversation with you. Let me paint the word picture. The drinks were innocent enough, just relaxing with friends. Really, I felt fine. Being drunk wasn't even a consideration. Then the rearview mirror lights up with the blue and red. The arrest, cuffed, and in jail. Really? Me? All too frequent, we wish in the somehow, someway category for a do-over, a mulligan to make a different decision. Let me introduce you to Orange County's Office of Michael L. Feld. Nearly 2 decades serving in the Orange County District Attorney's Office as a prosecutor, now fighting for your rights in criminal defense. Recognized as one of Orange County's top 5 criminal defense attorneys, ready to represent you against his former colleagues. Save the embarrassment, the potential conviction, the record, the possible loss of job. Call Mike Feld direct for your legal mulligan, a chance to make it right. 949-278-5559. That's 949-278-5559 for the law office of Michael L. Feld. 949-278-5559, or you can text the letters OCDUI to 313131. KTLK, I'm back with my guest host, special guest host, the best in class, Beth Styne from Coldwell Banker. We're at the stump.
Ah, my favorite part.
Stump the experts. We're going to take some listener questions. This segment brought to you by my company, Academy Mortgage, introducing accountability. We talked about that this last segment. Accountability into the lending practice, where we do this crazy thing. We close escrow transactions on time. Why would you do that? That's like playing the middle of the fairway, right?
Oh, my God. Why should somebody expect something to happen and have it really happen?
Yeah, exactly. Brought to you by Academy Mortgage. Give us a call direct, 888-888-2136. That's 888-888-2136. Beth, what do we got with the stump?
Oh, we had some really good questions. And, Anthony, I'm going to throw these at you, and you can answer a few of these. So we got one question. One caller said, how do I select an agent in the real estate community where everyone is number one? And that's the kind of community I come from. So
and let's bring Alexander Villa from Century 21 Masters back into this, because Alexander, that's everybody's calling card. I'm number one. I'm the Titanic. I've done this. I've done that. The consumer, how do they weed through that and find the agent they want to work with?
That's a very good question, Nelson. I would say that in the changing market, or where we are now, you want an agent who is actually doing a fair amount of volume of transactions right now. We don't care what you did back in 2008 or 2005. That was a different planet. We want to know what you're doing in 2012, 2013. The client should interview a couple of agents and find out what who they've represented, what properties they've represented, what properties they've listed, and a result sheet from that.
Also, what about how about a list of questions? All kinds of interview questions. Are you encountering that a lot?
Yeah, of course, the first place someone wants to start is probably a referral from someone who has just had a good experience with an agent, and go from there, perhaps build the list from there, and then work the questions.
That's a great recommendation, and that's something that I do actually when people ask for my referrals. I give them the last 3 transactions that I've closed, not the cherry pick 3 or my best friend's 3 transactions. Right. I just say, here's the last 3. Right. And it's a fair sampling, and they can tell you whether they went well or not.
Right.
The other recommendation I would make is somebody who knows that area, not number 1 on the west side, number 1 in the Pasadena foothills, but somebody that is actually doing transactions in that area, both on the buying and the selling side.
I think another thing I'm going to jump in here. We see a lot of people who are choosing an agent because they're going with the cheapest amount of commission. The person who gives me the lowest commission rate. But the reality of it is if someone's willing to give away their money that fast, they're going to throw you under a bus to make a deal. You want to go with somebody who actually can prove value and provide you and get your property out there, get the most exposure.
Very good point. You get what you pay for. I think exactly. If you were on trial or you were having an IRS audit or something along those lines, I can't imagine anybody choosing the professional that would represent them for the least amount of money.
The dentist with bad teeth.
Exactly.
Let me ask you both a question. Low down payment loans, people that want to buy with VA and FHA transactions, can they get those approved? Will sellers give them a look?
Nelson, personally, I always try to swing the deal towards a VA or a young family. Try to get the seller not to hold the 3% FHA against them. It's just not doable in some price ranges where it is. It can be done. A lot of it, though, is the agent that is representing them, a savvy agent that knows how to manipulate contingencies to make their offer as strong as it can be without them having to put more cash in. Is an art form, and that's an agent the type of agent they need to work with.
Exactly. Also, they are out there, but again, that goes back to having strong pre-qualification, pre-approval, knowing exactly what your buying power is. So I've got one more question here for you, Alexander, and I know you're going to have a good answer for this one. Short sales routinely show up credit reports as foreclosures. And actually, you'll be able to get this one, too. I'd like to hear what you have to say about this, too, Nelson. From a lending perspective, are they the same? Short sales
and from a credit analysis, they are the same. They are being treated as foreclosures. You, bottom line, have moved a piece of real estate without honoring the obligation. And that sounds harsh, but from a credit analysis standpoint, there isn't a distinction of a short sale and a foreclosure. It still dogs you. Even though you did that with a lender's agreement, it's not a get-out-of-jail card as far as the credit rating. Is that what you find?
Yeah, and my concern would be, if I was representing the seller and an offer came in from a buyer that had this in their mid-recent history, I would probably ask for further explanation or further certainty from the underwriter, from the lender, to know that this deal is going to go through. The seller doesn't really care. It's not going to matter to their bottom line whether or not this person did or didn't do this in the past. What matters is that can they close that deal? Do they have the incentive and the ability to close that deal for the seller?
And the one thing is that we do know that short sales will fall off of your credit report sooner than a foreclosure and a bankruptcy.
Stump the experts. Quickly before we close, that's Alexander Vila and Beth Styne. Alexander from Century 21 Masters. Want to make certain we just save this last minute to take a look at one of these sponsored children from our orphanage down in Moshi, Tanzania, Treasures of Africa. And we have Tate Nelson on to talk to us about little Awadi.
So Adwai is a young boy, 3 years old. He kind of got the short end of the stick as far as life goes, and he's positive HIV. The orphanage actually found out that he was deaf later on in his life, and they couldn't figure out why things weren't working out with him. But he can't talk either. Mother left him. Father was mentally ill and could not support him, and the uncle could not support him because of his issues. So with that, the money that's being brought in towards the orphanage, they're spending a lot of time working with his disabilities, trying to get him to learn and adapt to life despite his things that are wrong with him.
And he's gaining strength and he's succeeding. So this is a storyline behind these kids out of Moshi, Tanzania, and Treasures of Africa is bringing them up, whether they're disabled or not, caring for them and having them as functional as they can be, but to come back and be difference makers. And little Awadi, you see this precious little smile. You'll see that he's just as deserving as any of the other kids. We want to ask you to support them. We also want to invite you to ask us for those 8 buyers' mistakes. If you contact us direct at 888-888-2136, we'll send you out that 8 buyer mistakes to avoid for free. 888-888-2136. I want to thank Beth Styne for being with us. Brett Miller, Alexander Villa, and of course Victor Rojas from the Los Angeles Angels. He said this interview is going to turn it around for those Angels climbing back above 500. Give us a call direct. 888-888-2136. That's 888-888-2136. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back next week.
Nelson is a licensed lender under the California Department of Corporations. NMLS 331060.
This is Nelson from Nelson Radio, and it's important that we talk about a very serious issue. We had bad lending practices that led to the mortgage meltdown, but now we've got the challenge of deplorable customer service coming out of the meltdown. Bottom line, getting a new loan can be like pulling teeth without Novocaine. I've got the solution. Academy Mortgage and my team are injecting into the industry real performance and real accountability. Here are the facts. Appraisals in less than a week. Rate guarantees that can improve if the market goes down. Purchase transactions with our market-exclusive close-on-time guarantees and refinance transactions in as little as 30 days. Who would have thunk? Guaranteed rates and guaranteed performance from your mortgage lender. Call me, Nelson, an accountable loan expert for nearly 3 decades, direct at 888-888-2136. That's Nelson at 888-888-2136, 888-888-2136, or at strongcreditrewards.com.